Official transcript of the U.S. Air Force Roswell Army Airfield 509th Bomb Group. Subject: Alien Interview. 29/7/1947. First session. Today, Airl told me about some very technical things. I took a few notes to remind myself so I can repeat what she said as closely as possible. She began with an analogy about scientific knowledge. Can you imagine how much progress could have been made on Earth if people like Johannes Gutenberg, Sir Isaac Newton, Benjamin Franklin, George Washington Carver, Nikola Tesla, Jonas Salk, and Richard Trevithick, and many thousands of similar geniuses and inventors were living today? Image what technical accomplishments might have been developed if men like these never died. What if they were never given amnesia and made to forget everything they knew? What if they continued to learn and work forever? What level of technology and civilization could be attained if immortal spiritual beings like these were allowed to continue to create in the same place and at the same time for billions or trillions of years? Essentially, the domain is one civilization that has existed for trillions of years with relatively uninterrupted progress. Knowledge has been accumulated, refined, and improved upon in nearly every field of study imaginable, and beyond imagining. Originally, the interaction of ISBE illusions or inventions created the very fabric of the physical universe, the microcosm and the macrocosm. Every single particle of the universe has been imagined and brought into existence by an ISBE. Every speck of dust in space, from the size of the tiniest subatomic particle to the size of a sun or a Magellantic cloud the size of many galaxies, was created from the nothingness of a thought. Even the tiniest individual cells were contrived and coordinated to enable a microbial entity to sense and navigate through infinitesimally small spaces. These also came from an idea thought up by an ISBE. You and every ISBE on Earth have participated in the creation of this universe. Even though you are now confined to a fragile body made of flesh, you live for only 65 short rotations of your planet around a star. You have been given overwhelming electric shock treatments to wipe out your memory. You must learn everything all over again each lifetime. In spite of all these circumstances, you are who you are and will always be. And deep down, you still know that you are who you are and what you know. You are still the essence of you. How else can one understand the child prodigy, an ISBE who plays concertos on a piano at 3 years old without formal training? Impossible if they did not simply remember what they have already learned from thousands of lives spent in front of a keyboard in times untold or on planets far away. They may not know how they know, they just know. Humankind has developed more technology in the past 100 years than in the previous 2,000 years. Why? The answer is simple. The influence of the old empire over the mind and over the affairs of mankind has been diminished by the domain. A renaissance of invention on Earth began in 1250 AD with the destruction of the old empire space fleet in the solar system. During the next 500 years, Earth may have the potential to regain autonomy and independence, but only to the degree that humankind can apply the concentrated genius of the ISBEs on Earth to solve the amnesia problem. However, on a cautionary note, the inventive potential of the ISBEs who have been exiled to this planet is severely compromised by the criminal elements of the Earth population. Specifically, politicians, warmongers, and irresponsible physicists who create unlimited weapons such as nuclear bombs, chemicals, diseases, and social chaos. These have the potential to extinguish all life forms on Earth forever. Even the relatively small explosions that were tested and used in the past 2 years on Earth have the potential to destroy all of life if deployed in sufficient quantities. Larger weapons could consume all of the oxygen in the global atmosphere in a single explosion. Therefore, the most fundamental problems that must be solved in order to ensure that Earth will not be destroyed by technology are social and humanitarian problems. The greatest scientific minds of Earth, in spite of mathematical or mechanical geniuses, have never addressed these problems. Therefore, do not look to scientists to save Earth or the future of humanity. Any so-called science that is solely based on the paradigm that existence is composed only of energy and objects moving through space is not a science. Such beings utterly ignore the creative spark originated by an ISBE and collective work of the ISBEs who continually create the physical universe and all universes. Every science will remain relatively ineffective or destructive to the degree that it omits or devalues the relative importance of the spiritual spark that ignites all creation and life. Unfortunately, this ignorance has been very carefully and forcefully instilled in human beings by the old empire to ensure that ISBEs on this planet will not be able to recover their innate ability to create space, energy, matter, and time, or any other component part of universes. As long as awareness of the immortal, powerful spiritual self is ignored, humanity will remain imprisoned until the day of its own self-destruction and oblivion. Do not rely on the dogma of physical sciences to master the fundamental forces of creation any more than you would trust the chanted incantations of an incense-burning shaman. The net result of both of these is entrapment and oblivion. Scientists pretend to observe, but they only suppose that they see and call it fact. Like the blind man, a scientist cannot learn to see until he realizes that he is blind. The facts of earth science do not include the source of creation. They include only the result or byproducts of creation. The facts of science do not include any memory of the nearly infinite past experience of existence. The essence of creation and existence cannot be found through the lens of a microscope or telescope or by any other measurement of the physical universe. One cannot comprehend the perfume of a flower or the pain felt by an abandoned lover with meters and calipers. Everything you will ever know about the creative force and ability of a God can be found within you, an immortal spiritual being. How can a blind man teach others to see the nearly infinite gradients that comprise the spectrum of light? The notion that one can understand the universe without understanding the nature of an ISBE is as absurd as conceiving that an artist is a speck of paint on his own canvas, or that the lace on a ballet shoe is the choreographer's vision or the grace of a dancer or the electric excitement of opening night. Study of the spirit has been booby-trapped by the thought control operation through religious superstitions they instill in the minds of men. Conversely, the study of the spirit and the mind have been prohibited by science, which eliminates anything that is not measurable in the physical universe. Science is the religion of matter. It worships matter. The paradigm of science is that creation is all, and the creator is nothing. Religion says the creator is all, and the creation is nothing. These two extremes are the bars of a prison cell. They prevent observation of all phenomenon as an interactive whole. Study of creation without knowing the ISBE, the source of creation, is futile. When you sail to the edge of a universe conceived by science, you fall off the end into an abyss of dark, dispassionate space and lifeless, unrelenting force. On Earth, you have been convinced that the oceans of the mind and spirit are filled with gruesome, ghoulish monsters that will eat you alive if you dare to venture beyond the breakwater of superstition. The vested interest of the old empire prison system is to prevent you from looking at your own soul. They fear that you will see in your own memory the slave masters who keep you imprisoned. The prison is made of shadows in your mind. The shadows are made of lies and pain and loss and fear. The true geniuses of civilization are those ISBEs who will enable other ISBEs to recover their memory and regain self-realization and self-determination. This issue is not solved through enforcing moral regulation on behavior or through the control of beings through mystery, faith, drugs, guns, or any other dogma of a slave society, and certainly not through the use of electric shock and hypnotic commands. The survival of Earth and every being on it depends on the ability to recover the memory of the skills you have accrued through the trillennia, to recover the essence of yourself. Such an art, science, or technology has never been conceived in the old empire. Otherwise, they would not have resorted to the solution that brought you to your current condition on Earth. Neither has such technology ever been developed by the domain. Until recently, the necessity of rehabilitating an ISBE with amnesia has not been needed, so no one has ever worked on solving this problem. So far, unfortunately, the domain has no solution to offer. A few officers of the Domain Expeditionary Force have taken it upon themselves to provide technology to Earth during their off-duty time. These officers leave their doll at the space station and, as in ISBE, assume or take over a biological body on Earth. In some cases, an officer can remain on duty while they inhabit and control other bodies at the same time. This is a very dangerous and adventurous undertaking. It requires a very able ISBE to accomplish such a mission and return to base successfully. One officer who did this recently, while continuing to attend to his official duties, was known on Earth as the electronics inventor Nikola Tesla. It is my intention, although is not a part of my mission orders, to assist you in your efforts to advance scientific and humanitarian progress on Earth. My intention is to help other ISBEs to help themselves. In order to solve the amnesia problem on Earth, you will need much more advanced technology, as well as social stability, to allow enough time for research and development of techniques to free the ISBE from the body and to free the mind of the ISBE from amnesia. Although the domain has a long-term interest in maintaining Earth as a useful planet, it has no particular interest in the human population of Earth other than its own personnel here. We are interested in preventing destruction, as well as accelerating the development of technologies that will sustain the infrastructures of the global biosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere. To this end, you will discover, on very careful and thorough examination, that my spacecraft contains a wide assortment of technology that does not yet exist on Earth. If you distribute pieces of this craft to various scientists for study, they will be able to reverse engineer some of the technology to the extent that Earth has the raw materials required to replicate these components. Some features will be indecipherable. Other features cannot be duplicated as Earth does not have the natural resources required to replicate them. This is especially true of the metals used to construct the craft. Not only do these metals not exist on Earth, the refining process required to produce these metals took billions of years to develop. It is also true of the navigation system, which requires an ISBE whose own personal wavelength has been specifically attuned to the neural network of the craft. The pilot of the craft must possess a very high order of energy volition, discipline, training, and intelligence to manipulate such a craft. ISBEs on Earth are incapable of this expertise because it requires the use of an artificial body specifically created for this purpose. Certain individual Earth scientists, some of whom are among the most brilliant minds in the history of the universe, will have their memory of this technology jogged when they examine the craft components. Just as some of the scientists and physicists on Earth have been able to recreate electric generators, internal combustion and steam locomotion, refrigeration, aircraft, antibiotics, and other tools of your civilization, they will also rediscover other vital technology. In the following are the specific systems embodied in my craft that contain useful components. 1. There is an assortment of microscopic wiring or fibers within the walls of the craft that control such things as communications, information storage, computer function, and automatic navigation. 2. The same wiring is used for light, sublight, and ultralight spectrum detection and vision. 3. The fabrics of the interior of the craft are far superior to any on Earth at this time and have hundreds or thousands of applications. 4. You will also find mechanisms for creating, amplifying, and channeling light particles or waves as a form of energy. As an officer, pilot, and engineer of the domain forces, I am not at liberty to discuss or convey the detailed operation or construction of the craft in any way other than what I have just disclosed. However, I am confident that there are many competent engineers on Earth who will develop useful technology with these resources. I am providing these details to you in the hope that the greater good of the domain will be served.